What do you get when the Camp Crystal Lake killer takes a stroll down Elm Street?
For me, it was Tuesday.
Welcome to a very, very bloody episode of For Me, It Was Tuesday. I am your host, GQ. Today, we're going to be looking at a very, very awesome film, but I need you to do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button.
Sweet, dark meat.
Like the video, leave some comments on this video and the other ones I've done. Make sure you check out culturejunkies.net. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're also on Twitch and Discord. So we are pretty much everywhere. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a classic bringing together of two titans in the slasher/horror film genre. Today we're going to be looking at Freddy versus Jason. So obviously, you can see which team I'm on. But Freddy vs. Jason was directed by Ronnie Yu, released in 2003, starring Robert Englund, Ken Kirzinger, Monica Keena, Kelly Rowland, and that's pretty much about it. I mean, everybody else is just, they're there to be cannon fodder and machete bait and fall by the blades of Freddy. So everybody else doesn't really matter. The film, in and of itself, was a ton of fun. I was truly anticipating this movie coming out. When they made the initial announcement, it was like, wow, they're actually going to do it. They're actually going to bring together Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and have them go in a knockdown, drag-out fight. As to be expected, they gotta have a story as to why these two basically legends are coming together. And the story they tell is actually fairly creative. They came up with the story that Freddy was trying to, essentially get back to Elm Street and haunt a new crop of kids. And unfortunately for him, the citizens of Elm Street, or at least that live in Springwood, basically found a way to make him powerless. They basically erased him from their history books. They erased all knowledge of Freddy. They erased all mentions of Freddy's name, the killings that he's done, all of the victims, all of the everything. They just basically erased it, like, as if he never existed. And any of the survivors, they shipped him off to a place called Weston Hills, I believe it was, and kind of institutionalized all the kids, put them on this drug called Hypnosil, which suppresses dreams. Might actually be a real thing, who knows? I kind of doubt it though. And yeah, that's kind of where they got it. So he's like, okay, well, since me and Jason Voorhees are both in hell, especially when they did that little Easter egg at the end of Friday the 13th, part 9, Jason Goes to Hell, where the claw reaches up and pulls the mask into the ground with Freddy's laugh. And so he finds Jason, poses as his mother, and sends him to go back to Elm Street to start killing people and get people to remember why they fear going to sleep. And it kind of starts to work, but the problem is once you set Jason loose, he's going to just keep on killing and killing. So it was really, really a creative way to bring the two together, because Freddy likes the spotlight, so he's not going to let Jason get all of the spotlight. He even literally says, Jason will get the blood, but I will get the glory. For whatever crazy reason, people are still allowed to live at, I believe it's 1428 Elm Street, the house, of course, from the original films that Nancy lived in and subsequent other people lived in. It's like, why do people just tear the house down? It's just like the Amityville house. Tear it down. Nobody needs to live there. I don't care how cheap the mortgage is. Don't live there, period. But somebody's living there now, and of course, she's kind of, the star of the film. Her name is Lori, played by Monica Keena. And, attractive girl. I think she actually in real life is married to Edward Furlong from Terminator 2. But again, we're not here for their story. We're here for Jason versus Freddy. So when they finally do lock up, it's awesome. I mean, it it in and of itself is everything that you would kind of expected it to be. Freddy, in all honesty, Robert Englund, you know, this movie's 17 years old now, but he had it, man. He literally was in there going tooth and nail, knock down, drag out, trying to beat the living crap out of Jason. And Jason was doing his usual thing. It's like, you can beat me down a lot, I'm gonna get right back up and keep on coming. And the fight that they had was actually pretty cool. I like the fact that they did it in 2 different phases. They essentially had a scene where one of the kids, Freddy, basically possesses him, and they tranquilize Jason, so essentially put him to sleep. And once you're asleep, you know Freddy can come after you. So he goes into Jason's mind, basically, and they have their fight. And of course, Jason, he's in the dream world, so Freddy's got ultimate power there. And so Freddy puts him through the paces and then discovers that Jason has a fear of water, which I don't believe is canon to the actual Friday the 13th series, but it's just essentially one of those things you needed something to go with. So since he drowned, is probably a good, you know, chance that he is, you know, afraid of water or has some type of fear of water. So I had no problem with them throwing that little tidbit in there. And you know, eventually they figure out that, well, Freddy's too powerful in the dream world. We got to get him into the real world. And so they decide to take Jason's tranquilized body to Camp Crystal Lake to kind of give him the home field advantage. And it's like, if you say so, whatever. So they find a way, of course, to have one of the girls, well, Lori, the main character, main girl, she gets put under, and she pulls Freddy into the real world. And I love the expression on Robert Englund's face when he realizes he's in the real world and Jason's pissed, and it's classic. So I mean, it's Robert Englund really, really, really makes this film. No disrespect to Ken Kirzinger, he does this thing. In all honesty, though, I like a lot of fans out there, I wish Kane Hodder, who had been playing Jason since I think Friday the 13th Part 7, all the way through till Friday the 13th, you know, Jason 10. His hand was actually the one wearing the glove that dragged the mask down in Friday the 13th Part 9. So I mean, Kane Hodder was, people, you know, expected him. He was a legendary Jason Voorhees, and they passed him over for whatever reason. Didn't pick him to be Jason in this film, and it was kind of a small letdown, because it's like, look, Freddy's, you know, it's the best Freddy, because obviously Robert Englund at the time was the only person playing Freddy. And then you had, basically, for what a lot of people consider the best Jason, should have been the two that were going, you know, Clash of the Titans, essentially. But that's not what we got. We did, in fact, you know, get a different Jason, and it was fine. You know, it is what it is, unfortunately. It's, you know, far too late, because this film actually marks the last time that Robert Englund plays Freddy Krueger. And interestingly enough, on some bonus tidbits, Evangeline Lilly, who plays, of course, the Wasp in the MCU, is in the background in one of the scenes in the film, kind of basically like a walk-on role. And Rey Mysterio of WWE fame, Rey Mysterio Jr., basically most people know him as Rey Mysterio, is actually the person that was Freddy's stunt double during certain sequences, I think, where he was kind of doing a running and jumping between pipes. And anybody that knows Rey Mysterio knows that that's a very athletic, acrobatic guy. So they got him to actually be the stunt double for that part. So I thought that was actually really kind of cool. As far as the Blu-ray goes, this is part of a Friday the 13th mega box set that I picked up. Honestly, I really more or less got the box set because I wanted Jason 10 on Blu-ray, and that was kind of one of the only ways to get it. But of course, Freddy vs. Jason came with the package. I'm not going to obviously turn that down, and it's been a while since I watched that film, so I decided to watch it again. And the Blu-ray comes fairly packed. It's a lot of the same extras that they had back when this was originally released on Blu-ray. Like 18 deleted or alternate scenes, 2 endings, an original ending and an alternate ending on top of the ending that's in the film, and also an alternate opening. Then of course a lot of featurettes about how this came to be, how it finally came under the umbrella of New Line Cinema, basically owning both properties, and that's why they could finally get it done. So yeah, it's actually a really, and again, it's an old film. I'm sure a lot of people out there have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's worth the watch. Unfortunately, like I said, there's no 4K version of it available, so you're dealing with, you know, a Blu-ray, which is, you know, a good transfer. The special effects, of course, are very dated. I mean, again, we're talking 17 years ago. So all in all, Freddy vs. Jason is a very, very fun film. And if you literally go into it with no trying to put this thing as like it's supposed to be this great Shakespearean, like, you know, epic, it's like, no, it's supposed to be a fun slasher film because some of the acting in it is really bad. One of the scenes that stands out is you had this one dad where the kid's best friend just had gotten killed. He was like the first kill in the movie, or second kill technically. But, and his dad comes out and is like, what were you doing at the house anyway? Were you drinking? It's like his friend like literally got killed in like one of the most brutal ways, and were you drinking is what is on your mind. And then the kid literally like in 2 seconds later pulls the flask out, which is clearly had to have been sitting right next to him on the little bench he was sitting on. So it's like, yeah, apparently he was drinking because the flask is right there in your face. But all in all, the movie is fun though, so I'm going to leave you guys with these final words. For many of you out there, when you heard that Freddy and Jason were going to be getting together for a little bit of fun, you definitely jumped for joy because it's something that we had been waiting for at that point for about 16 years, or if not more. And then we finally got it because in 1980, Jason made his debut, and in '84, Krueger came along to really redefine horror. And when you got the two of them together, it was a lovely, lovely affair. But for all of you out there, great, great movie and tons of fun. But for me,
It was Tuesday.
I'll see you guys next time. Hey, this is GQ giving a special shout out to our Culture Junkies level patrons, DeMarcus Smith, Fab Nerd Life, and Nanette Ned. Appreciate all you guys' support. And if you want to get a shout out from yours truly, stick around to the end of the video. If you're enjoying our content, please consider going to our Patreon and becoming a supporter. There are different tiers to select from, and we thank you for your support.
Culture Junkies!